And yes, we are recording now. And what I will do now is basically give you an overview for Kiran as to what we did the last time, which is something that you have to catch up. And the video for that is available in this location that you will see called, I think it is called session number 5, if I remember. Yeah, this one. This last link, which is a YouTube link, will be the 6-hour session that you did not have the pleasure of attending, if I would say that. but but we covered a lot of ground in that session. What we essentially did is finish this exercise here, and in this exercise, what happens at the end is that you have a complete WordPress setup ready. Now, in that step, once you follow along, there are lots and lots of little steps that need to happen to give you a complete understanding. And those steps involve something like this. You create a DigitalOcean machine, you put Linux on top, and then over there you create a cookbook grab a cookbook for Apache, grab cookbooks for MySQL, grab cookbooks for PHP, and a bunch of other cookbooks that are needed, and you put all of them in form of a chef file, and then you install and run a software called librarian-chef, and this software will grab all the cookbooks for you from the supermarket and then place it in the right spot. Then once you have these cookbooks already in your cookbooks folder, you modify this particular cookbook and you create a your SQL cookbook as opposed to my SQL cookbook. You also end up creating a data bag. You also create an encrypted data bag. And by the way, encrypted DB. And you basically send all your material, meaning material, as in you will send your data bags, your custom cookbooks, your community cookbooks. So all these things go. In addition to that, you create a role, you create some nodes, you create your environments, and you basically create everything that is needed, and you send all of that material to Chef server. Once you have it given to the Chef server, you go to the client, which is this do droplet. And in the droplet, you run sudo chef client. And what it does is what we described here. It will set up everything up until this point. And the work we want to do today is to expand it to include and go up to this point. Double star. So that's where we want to go from here to here, which involves using two gists. So you need to add a gist for this, and you need to add another gist for this. So I have given some ready-made code for you in form of a gist number 1 and gist number 2 that you see on my GitHub page, and you have a link of that in Slack. So you have to include these two gists in the step you already have. So in order for you to go from 1 star to 2 stars, and so from end to end, expanding it to go and not only do whatever it does, but also add a database and add WordPress software by incorporating these two gists into your setup. So that's our goal. Now, if you feel comfortable proceeding in that direction, go ahead. If you need help, I'll walk you through. So, what do you think? Who's ready to show their screen and maybe show us how you're doing it? If that's the question, that's the real question I have. Is I would like you to show me how you would do it. It's a simple extension of what this write-up is, expanding it to include the two ideas, the two gists that I mentioned here, which are again on my GitHub page, and the link should be in Slack here. So this is one gist, this is another gist. The second gist will set up a database and a username, and the first gist is to set up WordPress itself. So if you're ready to share, or if I may ask somebody to volunteer, that'll be awesome. If not, I'll just pick somebody and just begin with them.
Neelish, I got it to run, and I'm happy to share my screen, but you'll have to walk me through what we need to do, because I don't know how to do it.
I will absolutely do that, sir. Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a wonderful man.
Yeah. Well, yours.
Thank you, Anthony.
Way to make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work. It'll work. And so, first thing, what I would like to do is just describe everybody what we have done already in Anthony's laptop. So in Anthony's laptop, you see that there is this folder called My Cloud, and that's where he's working right now. And in that My Cloud folder, you see that there are these contents, and these contents he created a gem file, and so we have a gem file which contains these elements. This is different from the other folder, man.
Yeah, it's you got to go into
Chef Repo, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go to chef repo. So in here, in your cd and cd chef repo, and so in that location we need to be in. So we need to be working in this folder. And where does this folder come from? This folder comes from a download. The download comes from here. And where did this come from? This comes from a website.
It came from the magical website Fairy.
That's right. And that magical website Fairy did not work for you.
Is that a web?
Chef IO, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I messed up I recreated an account on a different
And so
address.
That is awesome. So in here, what we begin is this is the chef server account. Hey, please log in, Anthony. This is the chef server account that the ops code company has given us permission to use for use up to 5 nodes, and we are using it right now. And when you are there, you need to go to this location. And I'm just showing you, you don't need to do this. Don't do this, please. Do not. But I'm just showing you that you can, when you get lost, is that you go to this location. And in that location, you will get the starter kit downloaded. Do not download it because you already have. And so you already have downloaded it and you don't need it again. And so you will start to basically invalidate your existing setup if you go and download it one more time. Please do not download. That's the reason I say do not download, because I don't want you to
What? Sorry, Nilesh, I missed the middle part. What is it we don't do?
Yeah, what you don't do is go to this site and mess yourself up.
Thank you.
Don't click that button. When you click that button, you get this. And when you expand it, then you move it over to this location. And when you expand it, it becomes like this. And in here are all the things needed for us to make that exercise work. And that exercise is here, somewhere. You know where that exercise is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what we ran the last time. And we will log in again and just compare what we have, and that will be golden. So please log in, sir. And next time you can just click on the login with Google, and you don't have to type the password, right? That's easier.
Okay.
And so here, if you go the DevOps section, you will find that you were doing that the last time you were here. And that's the exercise we did. Now, what did we do that last time was essentially to get in our folder here, we have a bunch of other things. So if you go look at our tree, and the tree is quite long. The tree becomes long because we have downloaded a bunch of cookbooks and a bunch of other things needed to make it work. But bottom line is we have this personal PEM file, which comes from a part of your download kit, the encrypted data bag secret you end up creating by yourself, based described on this write-up somewhere here. The GMI validator gem, the validator PEM is a part of this kit. The knife RB is a modified version of what they give us, and what it contains is credentials to connect to a service provider like this one. And so you get a token from here, and in that you will be able to grab the token from the place where you get an API token. By the way, those who have not obtained a token like Kiran, you should obtain a token from here. So go to that location in DigitalOcean API and get a token. You can generate a new token if you like, or if you already have downloaded a token, use it. That token goes in here in knife RB. Then we end up creating a chef file, and this chef file will generate and download all these cookbooks. And that's what you see, that is a collection of cookbooks you see here. Then we had the opportunity to create two data bags. These two data bags were one for the users data bag and one for secrets. The users will create a couple of users, and in secrets we have, I think, 2 secrets. We also created an environments folder, and in there we created a dev RB, prod RB, stage RB, these 3 environment files. And prior to all this, prior to beginning with this exercise, we also had a gem file, which brings up a lot of gems for us when we run bundle. That gem file is also given here at the very beginning of it. You should have a gem file. And so here is the long gem file with 84 items somewhere here. That's the gem file. And next up, we also have made sure that we are putting everything along the way as we proceed and put that in a Git repository. So the entire work is inside a Git repository. That's what you see here. There's a little README, and there's a roles folder. So we have defined some roles here for us, for our machines to take some roles. And there are 3 types of roles we have defined. One of them is a base role. The other one is a database master role. And the third one is a web server role. And then there is a custom cookbook we created, and that looks like this, your SQL cookbook. And then this TMP folder is kind of a thing that needs to be deleted, so we can delete it. Librarian creates it for us because it wants to get these cookbooks, and so it created a TMP folder. We can get rid of that, but we don't have to. You just leave it alone. Next time when you run librarian, it'll be faster because the temporary file location is actually caching it. It caches the entire contents of the cookbook that you ever downloaded before using librarian. So back in terminal, if you look at our listing, it's fairly small. The hidden folders are not visible here. Like the Git folder is not visible. The .chef folder is not visible. And those 2 are hidden. We have the TMP is kind of pointless folder, and this is created by our librarian chef. This folder gets created by librarian chef when you run librarian chef, and it will download all the cookbooks you said you should in this file, and this file describes what cookbooks you need, and that file is also given down here in the listing, where we define what cookbooks we need in a chef file. So that is given. And so when you invoke librarian, it will grab the cookbooks, put it here. Then you manually create data bags, you manually create environments, manually create roles, and all that is needed as written down here. Now at this moment, if I should check my Git status, I think there are some changes that Anthony made that are not yet included in the Git commit. So we will like to do that by saying git add dot and then git commit. And so now we have a git commit with a git log that looks like this. And along the way, you will see that this author, which is this generic name called Cloud Genius, has basically Anthony has done these steps. The almost final commit is what we just did, but prior to that, he has been adding and making changes along the way, as you can see. And you can go back to any commit you want, all the way to the initial commit he has here. Now, at this moment, if you run this command and operate it on a given droplet, it will create the droplet, and there is a droplet running already that I intend to destroy if Anthony is okay. Is that okay?
Sure.
So is there a reason why you have it working, or
It was. I thought it was part of the exercise, didn't we? We had one running.
meaning the reason you have it running is because you're using it, or because I said so, or what?
You know what? No, I thought it was part of the last exercise that we did.
Fair enough. So since that droplet is running again, it is very easy for us to just go SSH into the droplet. And
So you owe about $100.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think so. So I think you don't owe much, because the account should take care of with the coupon that you have in place. So you probably don't owe much. Let's see how much you owe.
Yeah, I checked. It's
kidding.
under. I would have shut it down.
So yeah, you have $4 still left. So that's okay. Yeah, so that's not a big deal. You have still $4 credit left. So in that account, in that droplet, you have this droplet up and running, and it is running your chef already, right? There's no issues there. It is functioning just fine. Now, the changes that we would like to do to our existing setup, if you have a droplet running, is to see that we run a sudo chef client. It should run chef again, all over again, just like that. And it will basically test for what you don't have and skip everything. Most of the thing will be skipped because it already has. And so it skipped almost every single thing and finished doing skipping, like skip due to this and skip due to that. And so it's mostly skipping everything. It is testing for things that are already done and skipping every single thing because it has already been done. And so that there is a word to describe this behavior that you repeatedly keep running over and over. What is that word? Do you remember? Yes, that is the word. And so that word is what is happening, is that you run that thing over and over and you find that it is functioning just like it should produce the same outcome. No matter what the current state is, the outcome state should be the same that you define. So the outcome that we have defined is that we would like it to be set up with all things needed to make it work like a WordPress setup. And so it did just that. Except this time when you run Chef Client, it skipped. It was already taken care of. And that's awesome. So the exercise I would like us to do next is, how would you change the things that you have in order for us to finish the last two steps. And I'm deliberately leaving that out in my write-up. Is the idea that I would like you to think of is idempotency is one of them, and then modification of an existing exercise that we have already here, which is this. I would like to modify this sequence and add some things to it in order for us to make it so that you start a new droplet here like this, or maybe some other method, and in that droplet you run sudo chef client, and it should be complete all the way to the end in setting it up for you a ready-made WordPress deployment just like this, without need to manually run these things, which are going to be these two steps. So we want to add on these two steps, like one of them is this one, and the other one is this one. These two steps, essentially what they do is set WordPress and set the database needed for WordPress. You have to first do the database part and then do this, and then you are good to go, essentially. So that is the outcome we would like. And at the same time, we want to make sure that idempotency is taken care of. And that idempotency is super important because you will keep running this thing over and over and over again, and it should not disturb what is already set up in the previous setup. So you see that this exercise, this write-up here, is kind of invasive. It is very destructive. The destructive lines are here. See that line number 4, very highly destructive. This line number 6, again very destructive. It is killing the entire folder, right? And so this will delete your existing WordPress deployment, which is not what you want. So you have a WordPress deployed. If you run that step again, what will happen is it will kill it and put in a new WordPress. That is not what we want. So we want to run it, but we want to test whether this WordPress already exists. Just like this guy, testing, skipping, due to not if. So something was there, some condition was already met, so it did not run it. That's how we would like to write our own modifications, so that if it is not already set up with WordPress in that location, then it should set up WordPress in that location. Otherwise, it should not. Otherwise, it should leave it alone. You see what I'm saying? That's the outcome we would like. And so when it does run WordPress, or when it does run Chef like this, I would like it to be non-invasive and not destructive. Meaning this step will totally destroy your WordPress if it exists. It will kill it. I don't want it to be killed because I would like this principle to be followed when we are making changes to what we have done up until now in here. Right? In our write-up here, what we have done is there is an idempotent method of doing things. And that's what we have followed along, except now we are deviating and we are digressing into the open world. When you are on your own, when you are alone, or maybe working with some other people, not me, when I'm not there, what would you do to keep it idempotent but extend to include WordPress setup and a database setup? Meaning, when you try this step of installing WordPress, in the second time, you will find that this username already exists. So you don't want to make sure that you don't mess it up. What happens if you run this command over and over again? Is this idempotent? What happens if you run this command over and over? Is this idempotent? That's the question you should ask. And rewrite or extend what you have here in order for us to make these things included in the write-up and make it functional so that they are doing what you want in a fashion that is idempotent. So you see what I'm asking? So this is a key characteristic. Idempotence is a very, very important key characteristic. And we would like to keep that in place. We cannot go away from that. That's the fundamental rule behind using Chef-like software. It needs to be idempotent, meaning you keep running sudo chef client over and over again, and nobody cares. If it is set up already, it will not bother to touch. If it is not set up properly, it will go and set it up properly. And you can keep on running that over and over again, and no big deal. It will not hurt you. It will only heal or correct it. And so that's how I would like you to think. And that's how I would like you to make changes and include these segments. And this one, you know what it does, and this one sets up a database. That's the idea. So extend this in order for doing them, making these two steps also taken care of. You get that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how would you where would you begin doing that? You will basically begin creating a droplet through the droplet command and play out what happens when you run it in a test case without making changes to a ready setup droplet here. This is set up already. You create another one and play out these commands with the assumption that nothing is set up. That will be okay. There's no issue there. But when you run these commands and modify them in such a way that you test whether this thing already contains WordPress. So in specific, if you look at this segment, like this one, if you remove that folder, you don't want to remove if it already exists. If WordPress already exists in that folder, you don't want to kill it. Instead, you want to skip this step altogether. However, if it is not there, if that folder doesn't contain WordPress files in there, you want to then kill it. So if you begin thinking in that direction, you want to test for its existence and then bring it on if it doesn't exist. So how would you do that? How would you test for something whether it exists? And so that the idempotence goal is met. So we have this machine here, and we'll use that machine as a test machine for now. And the idea would become that we will go and clear our screens and go to this location www and see what do we find there. We find that it has these files which are indicative of the fact that this folder has WordPress. So if you go to the home and in that home location you say list to find out what you have, and you have the remove that latest file, so now you have nothing, and then you clear it up, and in your list you have basically these dot files which are hidden files, so you ignore them and just get a plain listing. You'll find nothing, and then you run this command. What this will do is it will get that latest software downloaded, and so in your listing you will find latest. And before you expand and move this content of that expansion, so if you say expand the folder latest, it will create that expanded version, and it goes into that folder called WordPress. So that's where it sits. So before you move this over from here into this location called, if you move this item from here onto this location, it will create a new WordPress setup. But if you already have WordPress here, how would you test for it? In some kind of a setup script that you can include, and that you will need to modify this and then include in your steps in order for it to remain idempotent. At the same time, do it the way you want. So you have to test for it. So see if that file exists, see if that folder exists, and so you have to see whether these kind of folders exist. An example would be see and look for wp-config.php. This is the primary file where configuration information is stored, and so test if that file exists, and then run this if it doesn't exist. You see what I'm saying? How would you do that? So I'm leaving it open-ended deliberately.
So would an if exists statement be worthwhile?
Yes, indeed, sir. Exactly.
Right.
And so this wp-config php file is what you will look for in that location. And if it exists, you will not touch it. You just skip the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if it doesn't exist, you know that that folder is not WordPress, and you need to remove it, and you need to put this thing in that location.
Okay.
So that is what needs to be done. And so I will now stop talking and look for ideas as to what would you be doing. And you have exactly this great idea of using what you described as if exists condition. And so please go ahead and make changes to this step. It's very tiny change, but it's very important. The importance comes from the fact that we want to remain idempotent. So don't lose sight of this idea. You cannot go back to the old style working. Old style of work was that you can run it one time, it will work fine, and the next time you run it might fail. All bets are off. That method of operating, that concept of writing whatever you're doing, operations, whatever things you're doing, writing code, writing steps, writing um, a process, anything you do, make it repeatable over and over and over again without disturbing existing setup. And so this is a key principle to observe as we will modify this and include in here or maybe here.
Right. So, if I remember rightly, it's I haven't done this for a while, but it would be like a if, and then find the file, then, well, actually, you could even output an echo file.
And
so
Google is your
if the
friend.
file exists,
Hey,
then
listen,
echo, then it doesn't.
I know. I think you have the right idea. And I would
Okay.
say Google is your friend.
Yes, I'm looking for it now.
Yep. And so Google is your best friend. That will tell you exactly what to do. And so if you understand it, that's awesome. Awesome. So show it to us what you're searching, how you're figuring out, because that is a key skill to have, which is to remain idempotent while
Okay.
and expanding. If you do not do idempotency, you will run into this lame problem. And that problem is, hey, it works on my machine and doesn't work on yours. What's wrong with you? Or another one
Right.
is, you just created a problem for me because my thing was already working. Now I ran your software and it messed up my machine. And so you don't want these things. These are older methods. We want to get rid of them. They're ugly. They're lame. And so we want to remain idempotent. And so there are several examples on this page that you find that are actually pretty darn cool. And so you want to test for file operators. And there is an example I just saw just before, and that's the right one. This is a good one. So file is that. If file exists, then do this. Otherwise, do that. That's exactly the idea.
Okay.
And so what I would like everybody to have this idea that this is something that you would make use of in the gist that I just gave. And so you will find my gists here. And that gist is what something you will need to modify this gist in order for you to include this. So if the file exists, then you will do the thing like this. I mean, like this to be precise. And if the file doesn't exist, then you do the thing. If your file exists, just skip it and move along.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So that's a change I would like you to include, and then make it successful and pass it along to others so that they can make use of your chef creations. And the core idea behind these things, as you remember, is this. You want to keep your code idempotent. That's absolutely required. Whether it is chef or puppet or whatever else, doesn't matter. This is the core idea. You need to put that and write whatever you do needs to be idempotent so that even by accident somebody runs it and by mistake, it should not cause any harm.
Right.
So go ahead and please do it, and I'll watch it, and I'll watch all of you guys maybe one at a time, because I think this method of sharing doesn't allow multiple views at the same time.
Oh, you don't get a Brady Bunch effect?
I don't know what Brady Bunch is, but
Oh, okay. That's where you have nine. You can watch nine screens at the same time. Three
I,
on the top,
I
three in the
know,
middle,
I
three on the bottom.
understand. No, I don't get that for your webcam. I do Brady Bunch, but
For
for
sharing.
for the screen sharing, I don't get Brady Bunch. All I do get is one screen at a time. So you are right now looking at my screen here. Now you do.
Awesome T-shirt.
Thank you, sir. This is the T-shirt I was mentioning early on. Was this MMA T-shirt, which I was saying that this guy. Where is that guy? Here. This is the T-shirt I first wore when this guy was coming to the office. You know
Awesome.
who this is?
Brian Stan.
He is a Marine with
Oh,
a
yeah.
Silver Star.
Wow.
He's a middleweight ultimate cage fighting champion.
Holy cow.
Yes, holy cow. That is the right word to say when you meet him.
Looks like his biceps are the size of my thighs.
Probably bigger. And so this guy, when I shook his hand, I did not know. I did not know what this thing is, MMA.
Hmm.
Now I know. Now I
So
know.
what did he do? So he gave you a pair of gloves and showed you?
What he did is that he shook my hand, and it felt like a mechanical wrench or something like that. Like really solid hand. And if just I don't know how to describe that feeling, but I think that my hands are rough enough, very hard. But when I was shaking his hands, my hand felt like butter to me, like literally like butter. And that is him. And so that is where this shirt comes from. And today is Memorial Day. So that's the reason I'm wearing it.
Indeed.
So much for my buttery, so much for my buttery hands.
I won't sleep tonight. Ah. All right.
So let's see
See
what
what
you
you
guys are
do.
doing. I think Kiran just dropped off or something. I don't know what. Anthony is still online. Let's see what Anthony is doing. Let's figure it out. See if you got the question I have, or if John or Jared has this idea of how would you nail it.
I get it conceptually, but I don't know how to do it. I understand the concept, but I don't know how to implement it.
Okay, so let's figure it out because this implementation is important because you want to keep it idempotent. And so let's figure how would you do it. And so I would begin looking at searching test. Oops. Test if file exists.
So we're going to do. How do I put this into a file that everyone can look at?
Yeah, we can share your screen. That's easier.
Where's the
Yeah, that's easier.
thing? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just did that. So everyone can look at your screen. That'll do.
There you go. Okay. So I want to take this.
Hmm.
And I think this is an example here. So if we put the file name in, then, and instead of this move command, if the file exists, oops, sorry, if the file exists, we just finish. We don't do anything like this.
Yeah.
But then so if the file exists, then do nothing. Then just go. Then it should just be an FI. But else echo no file name exists, and then if I'm right, run these commands.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
so,
And you will test for that wp-config PHP file.
right, so for example, I'm just going to cut and paste a few things from here.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And let me know if you lose anything in here. Oh, come on, operate. Oh, doesn't want to do it. Do you still have control of my screen?
I think I have control. Do I? No, I do. I
Yes.
do. I do. So how do I relinquish? How do I let go of the control? You can just take
Oh, there
it.
we go.
I think
I think you just did it. That's right.
yeah.
There we go. All right. So I'm just going to create a file called test, and we'll just put this stuff in there. So I'll take that, and we're going to take this. Oops. I can't copy that? Okay.
You can go to the raw section and copy it. The raw button. This will work. Yeah, no problem.
Ah! Got it. It's weird when you take over like that. It's like, whoa! Let me just put this all in the file. Right, so,
Yeah.
so we have a file we want to look for. And that was in, well, not on this one actually, it's going to be on my other node, isn't it? On the droplet.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So this will run in the droplet. All of this will run in the droplet, not locally. So the file name would be, I'll make it easy for you. It'll be var www wp-config.php. So you have to put quotes around it.
USR was it?
var.
Or VAR? What is it? WW?
No, just single wp config. .php.
Can you put a wildcard in there, like a star?
Yeah, but you want to test for this exact file because this is the most critical file in WordPress. If that file doesn't exist, then your
Oh,
setup
okay.
is broken. You have to put a .php at the end and a dash before the config instead of dot. Thank you. And .php. So that's the file you want to look for.
If that file exists, we don't want to do anything, right?
Yeah.
So we have to do, if the file exists, then do nothing. This makes no sense, but I'm just going to.
I think that's a good way to write. If then do nothing and then you should actually totally write the do nothing part. And it will do nothing. And you can even say that echo do nothing. That's the way to write it. So not in here, but in the upper segment. In the do nothing segment, you should say echo do nothing.
What is wrong with my keyboard? Okay. And then we would do an else statement,
Yes, which you already have down there.
which is this statement here. Right?
Yes.
There you go. Yep.
And so, what that else statement that you're putting in there, what exactly is that doing?
So the else statement is looking for the file condition. The if condition is the other condition.
No. I get that. I get the if then. I get that. But when it executes the sudo, what's it doing?
So let us walk these items step by step. So I'll begin describing that. So let us see. So first of all, I would like to delete this do nothing part. And then describe this step. This step is a super user escalation of privileges, which allows us to elevate the privilege so we can write to the VAR folder, the VAR WW folder. So I just moved that outside the block. It is not necessary to keep it inside, and I'm just a little bit of formatting here so I can do the if else conditions clearly.
Oh, yes.
And then I'll start describing what I'm going to do. So the sudo portion, I think you have got that part already, which is elevation of privileges. It's like administrator execution in Windows is what sudo is in Linux. And so that block of code that I just wrote between the else and fi is the segment that will run when you have echo. You do not seem to have WordPress installed already. So I am going to install it for you. So here I'll say echo. I will do nothing because you already have WordPress. Right?
Right.
And now this line, what this does, it downloads it. wget is a download function. And it gets WordPress from this location. How do you get that location? How do you find it out? You go to WordPress, the software itself, and search for it. You will find that WordPress software is available to download from this location called wordpress.org. That's where the software is available. So you can click the downloads button. And when you do, you can get that software downloaded in two different forms. The two forms are
zip and tar.
There is a zip file and a tar file. So we are getting the tar file. The link is
what's the tar file? What's a tar file?
Okay. So a tar file. Let me describe this tar file.
And that's don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. I'm just go ahead.
It's Unix version of zip.
Yeah.
Say that again.
It's a Unix Linux version of zip, if you like.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
And tar it has a name. It's basically like a tar, like ping. Ping means Packet Internet Groper. Tar has a similar acronym as well, but it's just like zip, only better.
Perfect.
And also the GZ, where you see tar.gz, GZ is gunzip. So the tar file, the archive file, is then zipped up further. So you can make it really small.
Okay. So essentially, it's just it's a zip file.
Yes. So it is tape archive in gunzip form.
Okay.
This is John. So I was looking at the wget. Aren't you missing an wordpress.org/download/latest? Or what's the actual name of the tar file? Is it called latest?
Yes, that is correct. You can see at the bottom of the screen. See the HTTP link at the bottom of the screen?
Oh, it's HTTPS, Nilesh. That link, HTTPS.
Yeah. So that is correct. So this is available also in the secure form. If you want to add S, you can. If you want to not add S, that's okay too.
I would by habit be adding an S, secure format.
Yep.
But it says wordpress.org/download.
Oh,
I thought you would have to have the download.
No, don't look here. Instead, look at the download link itself. In that link, you right click and say copy link location. That's how you actually get the link. So you get the copy link location, and then you paste it in here like this. So that is
okay.
So that is the same thing as here, except with HTTPS protocol.
Right.
So you go get the link from the thing itself, like here. You right click on it, and it doesn't go to the download section. This is the HTTP visual representation of the page, but the actual download you can get by right clicking on it. And when you right click, it will tell you what that thing has a URL corresponding to, or the copy link location will give you exactly what you want. So you go to copy link location, paste it here, you will find it. So that is where wget is getting it from. Wget stands for web get. Wget is included in all Linux distributions. This is the software. It's the GNU wget.
Oh, sorry, Neelix. A quick question: Would you need to test that the tar was successful? It could be different reasons the tar didn't get what you think it got.
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, this is absolutely a good practice to test every little step that you got the download. You should check for the download. Did it complete successfully? And you should also go and extend that idea by not only checking for your download, but also verifying its MD5 sum. So there should be a MD5 available here.
Do a checksum?
Yeah, some kind of MD5 or a SHA-1 sum should be available along with this download. Where is that? Yeah, they don't seem to provide a SHA ready-made. Like if you go here in, sorry, what did I just do? Cancel. Yeah. So if you go in any other location that gives you a big download, they typically give you a SHA sum or MD5 sum. If you remember these sums.
Yes, MD5.
From the last time we did this exercise. That is what you would actually check for, but they don't seem to have given us that detail for what should be the SHA sum for this download. And so if that was the case, I would actually verify that right after the download itself. So in that case, I would verify.
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't mean to give everyone more work.
No, not at all.
It's important to understand.
No, it's just...
We're writing more than just to download and install. We want to test it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so you can install, you can verify and actually error out, saying, hey, error. If the SHA fails or MD5 fails, you should error it out. That erroring out is also very important. You don't want to install broken software. Instead, you should install only if it is accurate. Otherwise, don't install. So that's an important step. And thank you for bringing it up. After you get that tar downloaded, the zip file downloaded, think of it as a zip file. You're opening that file, expanding it here. The download itself gets expanded, and the result of this is actually a folder called WordPress. A new folder gets created. So that folder, we want to rename it as that folder. And that's what we'll do in that step here. So when you expand the zip file, it automatically creates this folder in the current location. And this is just a command to expand a tar gzip. That's the command.
You can also, after you do that wget, if it does fail and you're checking the SHA and the MD5, the SHA-1 and MD5, do you let them try it like 2 or 3 times and then it finally still doesn't match, you just say, hey, for some reason I can't
Yes.
get the latest tar file. Try again later or something like that, or
You,
see your admin.
Yeah, you
could
could do
actually
exactly
call
that.
out
So
the
what you
error.
see in a lot of code will do that. And it's like if the SHA or the MD5 doesn't match, download, try again, retry 3 times. And third, if still fail, exit code 0 and report.
Yeah.
Yeah, extra work, but very worthwhile to do it. If you want to be precise, it's like coding software. If you want to be precise, then you want to, if you expect a condition to happen, either up or on, then you account for that, and then provide an exit code so that if everything works well, exit code 0. If it's exit code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do these things instead. So it's a lot you can do inside here. You can even print up have it print a date timestamp or send it to the root log or something, so it's in there as well.
Yeah. And instead of exit codes, I would actually be very verbose in saying that MD5 did not match.
Right. You tell them a reason in the log.
Yeah, in the log itself, you'll say the reason why did it not work. I was unable to download. I downloaded it, but MD5 did not match. And I tried 3 times. And now I think that your MD5 is broken, or your download link is broken, or something else is broken. Go investigate yourself. I'm breaking now. I'm breaking the automation. I cannot do it. Cannot succeed the checksum validation. I fail. And error. Copy and stop.
Could the tar command fail? I mean, if you don't have room to expand, but you're doing it on the website, so it should never give you out of space type error, right?
It might.
Well, that's also another good thing to test for. Check for disk space. df space minus k, does it meet the parameter?
Well, it's just going to scale, right?
No, not necessary. You have a very limited space on that machine that you create. You have a space created limited to 20 GB.
Okay.
And so you may not have more space.
So you got to think, well, I mean, if this is the first time and you're not, you don't know what size you're supposed to make it. I guess it could fail in the first time, but the second time and beyond, it shouldn't fail. It's just going to know how big it needs.
Yes. Correct. Am I taking a screenshot?
I guess so.
Yeah, I did not know. Now I know. And so the idea would be that you check for disk space, check for MD5 verification, check for SHA-SUM verification, as many checks you can include, and be verbose and clear about what you're doing in your messages as you write, like this echo statements. You're clearly saying what you're doing, and then you do it, and that is expected and a good behavior. Now, checking for disk space, checking for MD5 sum, we are skipping that one right now because we will keep on expanding, and I want to limit the scope of this exercise. I'm skipping those parts. Now, having said that, the next step is to remove the folder itself. And this you do that to make room for the next command, which is to remove, or rather move, that folder. What is it doing? Okay. To move that folder into that location. And that is what this command will do. And that will basically make room for this to go and sit in that location. And then when you're done, you remove the download itself, this download. You remove that one. You don't need that. And then you go back and change the permissions that you have.
Right.
Make it so that these permissions belong to the user as well as group known as www-data. and you can see that detail. If you remember, I'm going to switch over back to Anthony. And if you remember, Anthony, you had this scenario where you were running at that time and you had a last step missing, that your permissions were not set correctly. And so you remember that in your setup, your file permissions were not for this guy as the user and this guy as the group. So these file permissions need to be set so that all the files in this folder belong to this user called www-data. And there is a fundamental reason behind that. If you don't make the ownership changes like this, or rather like this, like chown, recursive. So recursively meaning go deep as into the tree and do it for all www-data colon www-data and do it for this folder entirely. It will do it, and that's good. If you miss this step, it will become a problem because WordPress and Apache software that runs here that you see, it actually runs as a specific user that is not root. Apache runs on the machine as a user called www-data.
Mm-hmm.
All these Apache processes are running as if they are run by a user called www-data. And so that is the process user that is running Apache here. And if you don't give Apache process owner access to these files in that location, and so that is what we are doing, is that user and the group is getting permissions to this folder entirely so that Apache can operate on files underneath that folder here, inside that folder underneath here. This guy can operate provided these permissions are set like so. If you don't do that permission set, you cannot get it to work, right? And so that is what Apache is running as, and that's a convention in Ubuntu land that they will use this name www-data as the username, and that's the reason why we have it in that command that we are running. And I'm going to switch over again to Chris, where I will show you what he's and basically finish off what he's doing and in that step. And so what Chris is trying to do here is chown, and that chown step is changing ownership to this user and to that group in everything inside that folder and do it recursively. And so that step is important. This remove step, you can do it right after your tar. That's okay. And I think removing right after tar is probably appropriate. And so you download it, then you expand it, and then you remove the original zip. And then you remove the folder, which is basically nothing. It doesn't even exist, probably because you tested for it and it doesn't exist. And so you then remove it, and you're probably removing nothing at this stage. And then you move the file, a collection of files that expands and results as a result of running this. And you move that folder itself into that location. That creates the output. And now if you take this step and copy and go to here and create a public gist. Let's see if we can create a public gist. So we can then, so all gist, new gist.
Question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if we are we're doing this if then block, if then else block
Yes.
to check if WordPress exists. In the case of if if you need a newer version of WordPress, could we manipulate the if to the if part of it to check on the latest version?
You're absolutely
Or how does that work when you know how you like your virtual machine, you know, there's a new latest version of your virtual machine.
yeah,
Download it now.
yeah.
Is that something that's in the same manner of checking?
Yes, sir. And so you're absolutely right, and I can see that you are thinking very accurately, and I appreciate that very much. And that is awesome. The check for disk you brought up. You also brought up check for SHA-1, MD5 validation. Beautiful. You should also check for version numbers. Awesome. Totally
Mm-hmm.
expected. I totally expect these things. Check for WordPress version. Wonderful.
But how do you know what the latest WordPress version is? Because it could change, you know, the next day or something
I
like that.
know, I know. And so let us do that.
No, because I would think you'd have to hard code the version in there, comparing one version to another.
You are right. And so we will go here and actually grab the exact version for WordPress hard coded. So where is that version? Let me just let me find a copy.
4.2.2.
Right, that version doesn't change the file location. So I want to get this version location 422 comes along as
Okay.
as your zip
Or
file, default
433.
zip. But when you download this, it doesn't. Hmm.
Uh,
Hold on, hold on.
yeah.
So when you download it and save it, what does it save as? It saves as this. Whereas the link that they have given to us in right click, sorry,
It's just the star. I see the difference. Yeah.
yeah, you see the difference being,
What?
yeah, I'll show you
Say
that.
that again?
I'll show you. And
Oh, it's a different file name?
yes, and so that is what you should see. Copy download link is different when you actually download as a user. And so what's that? How will you modify that? You open a new file first of all, and in that new file, you will paste it, this link, and that is this link you got. But if you look at uh, the file itself, it gets saved as a different name. And so we want to get download WordPress 421. How do you download that? And so there are older versions of software available in WordPress Codex. And so if you go to Codex, here you can get all the older versions in release archive. And so here you can get step by step, and there they give you here. That's where you will find MD5 and SHA-1.
Okay.
Right
Nice.
here for 422, you can get a tar GZ and get its MD5 and SHA-1. And so if you get the link from here and say, go get me the tar link, right click and copy that link location. And then you go to the terminal or the writing place to write something, and you now paste the link, and it is slightly different. Now that is a better link to get than this link.
What's a better link to get? Oh, latest.tar.gz.
So instead of this link, I think it is better to get this link.
Oh, and then now you have to go in there every time that the version changes and update this little file here.
Correct. That is totally correct. But if you have set up WordPress already, WordPress software will update itself on its own for existing machines. It automatically updates itself.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry that part. So
Oh,
if you set up WordPress in a given machine and let it run for a few days, if a new WordPress update comes along, it will automatically automatically update itself. Excuse me. So that's the change I just made based on this beautiful suggestion that you should check for WordPress version. Totally correct. And we will stick to this version. And so those three ideas, I love them very much. Thank you. I just
Good.
incorporated one of them. We can also incorporate the other two by adding a SHA sum, and look at the SHA sum. They're giving it to us right there. You test for the SHA sum right there.
Could you leave them in as comments? Kind of helps us remind us what we should really do in real life.
Right. Yes. So in that, I'm creating a gist file again in Chris's machine, and I'm going to give this a name. I think Kiran just came back or what? No, Kiran, we just lost him. I think he has a broadband issue going on right now. So we are creating a public gist called Chris, and that link, if you can please take and paste it into your this link. If you can paste this link into Slack, that will be awesome. So we can get that link.
You want me to? You should be able to do that. Just copy that, and I'll switch the screen.
Okay.
So copied.
Yep.
All right, and then oops. Thundercloud, third from the left tab. Might have to use the
That's all. Oh, I see.
and switch it back.
Yes, please. And so there we have a gist ready for us to try. Now this gist is not tested. So it is best to try this gist in a machine which already has this file. A machine that already has this file is available with our friend Anthony.
Okay.
Right, Anthony?
Yes.
So why don't you take that thing and see what happens? And this will cause potential issues, right? So you have to get that gist in Slack. There's a Slack link. So this gist contains a bunch of things. So in fact, you should run this script step by step. Don't run the whole thing.
Okay.
And run it step by step in your terminal in DigitalOcean. So run it in minimal steps. I'll tell you how to run it minimally. Here is how you do. So in your notepad, first of all, here in your notepad, paste it. Right? You have it. Now let us make it minimal. How would you make it minimal? Like this. Basically test for the if condition alone. So remove anything that is actually going to do anything completely. You don't mess up. You just delete the whole thing. All you're saying is that if you have the file, then you say, I'll do nothing. And if you don't have the file, you say, you do not seem to have WordPress installed already. So I am going to install it for you. Not. And then run this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this is very, a harmless script because it doesn't actually do anything in both these conditions. in this condition it says it will do nothing, and in this condition it says it is going to install for you, not, and then you run it. So it's pretty much innocuous. All it does is gives you these comments. And so now if you take this command and put that in your DigitalOcean, and so go here and say touch something, create a new file, call it chris.sh, and
Oh,
then
hell no. Anthony.
copy it over on from here into that file, paste, and this is your test case. So you will now run it and see what happens when you run this innocuous test here. And so we are going to invoke it. We are going to say shchris.sh and enter, and it did nothing. It did neither this nor that.
Well, where's the echo? Where?
Yeah, it did nothing basically.
Okay. What's the permissions on it? No, if it would, yeah, if it didn't execute, it would have had an error.
Yeah.
Is it because we've got the wrong shell? We're not using the bash shell.
Yeah, I think we should say hash bang.
You put you need the bang.
Yeah, hash bang.
Less / bat, something like that, right? What was it, John?
Oh, the to initiate that. Yeah, there you go. The bang. Don't you put a shell name after that or something?
Yes.
There you go.
I think this is the right syntax. I'm not sure. Just check.
I think that accidentally got deleted out of your notepad.
Yeah, I never pasted it there. So
Yeah.
no, it doesn't do it.
Oh.
So I think this test condition did not work. So it doesn't seem to work.
Okay.
So we have to find out what would be the right method to test. So this did not work out. What would it work? What would make it work is the question. So the question is still open-ended. What do you think we need to make changes for the condition, if condition, to work? This is not executing. Let us see if there is another method. So hold on. And okay, the thundercloud link. Let me.
How did you search for that command, Chris? Did you say it went too fast?
That's right. So in that script, we've got. I just noticed we've got if statement. We're saying -f equals. Do we need to have the equal statement, or just go -f for the file name, and then put it in inverted commas?
Let us read the syntax, the exact syntax for test for file. That's what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
I should.
Oh, there you go. Check if file exists Linux bash scripting. Try that.
I think we're meant to remove the equals.
There's
no equal statement.
So what's the right syntax?
So we should just have inside the, I call them goalposts. Inside we just have -f space and the file name in inverted commas. So we've got -f followed by the name. There's no equal sign. We had equals. We don't need the statement of equals.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of -f equals, take out the equal sign. Oop. Okay.
No,
Thank you.
no, we still did not get that. Still did not get it.
I'm missing something, right? Minus
Yeah,
F. So,
just
minus F with the file name. It's true if the file exists.
Yeah, but it is not operating anything. It's not even doing echo.
No echoes.
So here is an example. And this is,
I thought echo.
so
Right.
here is an example. I think our hash shebang is incorrect. Our hash shebang is incorrect. The first example checks. So here is how it should be written.
Bang bin bash. Right.
oh, there you go.
Bang /bin /bash. I got it. Okay.
And then we have checking, and then the if followed by file name. File name is not in quotes in this example.
Not in quotes, but we do have quotes.
Yeah.
Gotta leave the equal, right?
You got rid of the equal. We are getting rid of this quote. And then our commands in echo are matching what they have. And then we will run it. No,
Okay.
no joy.
Do we need to do the dot
Can
slash?
you echo what shell you're in right now? Just say like echo, what is that, dollar shell, capital shell? You are in bash.
Yeah.
Okay. And strip the echo. See if the echo actually work command.
Okay.
No, it doesn't want to listen to us.
Nope. No output.
I think we are making some mistake somewhere. I don't know where. I have no idea where.
Can you strip out one of the echo commands and see if that even works right on here?
You mean just try the echo command?
Yeah, just say echo, double quote, whatever. Oh, that
It does.
we know that. So it's the if then else is bad. The syntax
I
is
think
bad.
that is what sounds like it. So, okay, now let's go begin here. Echo. I am checking.
Oh, that should work for sure then. I got you there. Yeah.
And then you run Chris. No.
No echo commands. Okay. There's no echo output.
Okay. So what we can do is do something different, which is we'll actually run something very innocuous. The echo command seems to not work, which is fine. Not work. I don't know why. I have no idea. It should work. And what I will do is fairly innocuous things like
Oh yeah, there you go. Or you could just strip out the whole path of that file we're checking.
no, it doesn't even want to run.
Who am I? Oh no, we haven't even got the sudo in there, have we?
Yeah, we have sudo.
Okay. There's no echo. Is this because it's using PHP or something like that?
Oh, it finally gave us when I exited. It finally gave us when I exited. So are we missing something in the exit step? We don't have a done, is it?
Because we have a FI which is finish.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you have to do your exit.
Yeah.
Exit out of the script.
Yep, we didn't do any exit command on it.
Yeah. But where do you write the exit command?
right after the finish. But that exit is going to take us out of the droplet, right? Will
Do
that
we need
exit take you right out of the droplet?
It should not.
do we need to put a bracket, like a parenthesis? No, it's not that. If you edit the file again, Nilesh, and put at the very top has not a curly bracket. What's the other one? Just above the 9. Quote, not quote. Put in the. Can't think of things at the moment. Somebody help me out. On your keyboard, above where the 9 is, above the 9 is a left bracket. Then above the 0 is the right bracket.
Yeah, parentheses.
It is parentheses.
Parentheses.
Okay,
No, that's
so
not
the very
parentheses.
beginning. So the very
Yeah, you don't
first
want
line before bin bash, there should be a left parenthesis. So I think. Can we try that? So
instead of the bracket, instead of those brackets, you put the left and right parentheses.
Yes.
So
what
we are running in is I don't understand why it is behaving like this. It should not be. First of all, it should not expect an exit. We don't need that exit.
No, we'll put a right bracket,
improper.
a right parenthesis in instead.
That exit is improper.
Yes.
Right. And
Well, why don't you just screen scrape the whole if statement and run it without it, like you're in the Unix prompt. Let's see if it does it. Do a sudo su, then run that if statement.
And it did. So there's something different. It actually did. It ran the whole command sequence.
Yeah, but where's that? I will do nothing. I see it. It's on the bottom, right?
I see what.
I will do nothing.
Yeah, I see what's going on. Hold on. I understand what's going on. I think that first sudo is causing it. So this first sudo is causing the problem. That's what it is. Now you run this like this, sudo Chris, and it will be fine. Sudo /Chris.
Right.
It will be just fine. That's what the problem was. Yeah. So we got it. So we have. That's how it should be written. Let's clarify in our we have written it like this, and we have taken out the sudo and run it as sudo. That was the sudo was expecting an exit. That was the thing going on. So we now have it, and it does exactly what we wanted to do. And that sudo was throwing me off. We took the sudo out and ran it like sudo /Chris, and it works.
Right.
Now,
you've also your bin bash statement. You've commented that out at the moment too.
Oh, we don't have the bash statement.
It's commented out at the moment. But it's working.
No.
This bash
that's
is not
just
a
the
comment.
way it is.
This is not a comment.
That just sets your shell, right?
Yeah, it's an expression of what my shell should be when I run it.
Okay.
So that white line is not a comment. So the thing that was throwing us off, expecting exit, is because of this sudo in the body.
Sudo within the statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sudo within the body was the reason. You have to run a sudo like this. That will do. And so when it run it like this, it will say I'm checking, and then it checks, and it says that I will do nothing because you have it already. Right?
Do you mind putting it? You mind putting that in the gist file? Because I'm not going to remember that later.
Yeah. We'll edit the gist and put a new gist there. So having
I'm not going to remember that sudo command.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I'll mute.
Yeah. No worries. Now you can check the opposite of this, which is the other condition, which is this condition. I will do nothing. We saw it. You already have WordPress. You saw it working just fine. It emitted that same comment. Now imagine the other scenario where you don't seem to have WordPress installed. That scenario I will play out by tricking the system, and I will go modify that. I'm going to trick the system a little bit,
Okay.
and I'm going to rename that existing file. And now I will run this thing again. And it will say, you don't seem to have WordPress installed already. I'm going to install it for you. Not. And this happened because we renamed that file. And if you rename that file again back to what it should be, then it will say, I will do nothing because you have WordPress. So that is a method that you would like to deploy when you're running. And remember to not make the mistake I just did, which is to put sudo in the script itself and put it outside and execute that as sudo. Now, when you have it that way, what we would do now is to take on this script itself, not this. Where was the gist that you had, Chris?
You're on my screen, Neelish.
I see. So where was the gist here? And so we'll take that gist and edit it. So can we edit this gist on the screen? You need to fork it and make it your own. And in the edit, what you will do is make sure that you don't write sudo, write hash bang bin bash, and then everything else seems to be okay.
Right.
Could you put the comment in there with the command?
Oh, yeah. A comment like to run the command as sudo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I will do that and add it as a comment instead. So I'm updating the gist. And here you will leave a comment, something like this. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Run your shell. Run the script as that. Good deal. Thanks.
So run it like this. And this now should work just exactly what we expect. And so you can get the raw version of it and get the raw downloaded from this link. So you get the link all in one shot. You copy the link and then you go to your virtual machine in the VM onto that location where we have modified that file. By the way, we are going to make sure that we correct that mistake. We deliberately modified that file just to trick the system out. We are going to go back and say, please go back to the way you were.
Oh, well, why don't you just leave it? That'll be a good test to
Yeah,
see
we'll do
if
that
it
again.
loads.
We'll do that one more time. So we'll run it this way and then add the wp-config.php file again back to the way it was, right? We'll remove our chris.sh file. That's the the test case that we had. We removed it, and now we have nothing here. We have latest that I need to get rid of. So that is gone. We have the WordPress folder that is also gone. And now we have in our current location basically nothing. Now what we do is wget and then this gist will come down into our location like this.
Neato.
And so now we have the Chris gist full downloaded from the gist, and we will make it executable. So we'll say chmod +x Chris and then run it. And when you run it, what do you think should happen?
It'll blow up.
Yes. it will blow up.
It,
It will
let's
say,
see if it installs.
so you do not seem to have WordPress installed already, so I'm going to install it for you. That's what it said, and do it. So it should.
Looks like it downloaded it.
Hey, downloaded it, but it shouldn't have.
Interesting.
No, you ran the,
But the file exists.
No, you removed WordPress.
no, you removed it. You cleaned it up. Do your history.
You got rid of it.
No, I got rid of something else, not that.
Okay.
See, this is what I did not get rid of. So this time this exists. So I'm going to now get rid of it.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm confused. What did you remove earlier?
See, earlier I removed this.
So first you renamed it to PHP1, then we renamed it back to PHP. So our condition says PHP is already there, so shouldn't have done anything.
Oh, you removed the WordPress folder and everything below it.
Yes.
You didn't remove the var ww
Correct.
No.
and everything below.
Now I just did, by the way.
Okay.
And so I'm going to run that sudo /chris one more time.
But does it remove that whole WordPress folder? Holds you up? I mean, don't you need that too?
And so we have it created again. This thing should have created it for us now. See that?
Yeah.
It came back. And so it came back because of our script. And so if you get rid of that folder altogether, for example, you go back to clear, and in the listing we have, clear again. In our list we have just one file called chris.sh. Now in that file, in that location, we have this thing still carrying all our WordPress. We are going to remove our WordPress.
No, hold on a second. You removed a folder called WordPress. Where's that at?
That was a leftover from previous attempt.
Oh, okay. You were cleaning up. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought that was a parent of.
No.
Never mind.
No,
I was thinking something.
It was not a parent. It was just a leftover. I just cleaned it up. So now if you run that command again, it should create. Right? And now if you run that command again, it should say you do not, you should say you have WordPress already, so I'm going to do nothing. However, we're checking for the file called wp-config.php, and that file doesn't exist here. What you do have is this file called wp-config-sample.php, and the sample exists in the installation. But when you first time set it up, it does not have wp-config.php. So if it is set up correctly, it will bring up this point again. And now it will ask you to set it up one more time. And you can proceed along in that direction. And so you say, let's go, and let's go. And then you're done. All right, run the install. So that's the login. So you log in there and you're golden, basically.
Right.
Now, the scenario we are trying to do is in our setup, we are going to make sure that our listing, if you now check, you will find that there is a wp config sample and also a wp config.php. And so here they got created based on the setup we ran in this step here. This creation step created that file. And so that file got created, and that is a critical file for WordPress. So now if you run your sh again, it will say, no, it should say that you have it already and I'm going to not even see this. I should not see this. Now your test condition is still failing.
All right. What's in it?
Okay, our F command is broken. Okay. Yeah, that command is still broken. We have this equal to sign there.
Oh, okay. We don't need the equal sign.
Yeah.
That was the. And we probably don't need the quotes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we left in the quotes before.
It's okay. Quotes do not matter whether you have it or not, really, as long as there is no space in. So now we have the folder,
Mm-hmm.
and now we don't.
It's like magic. One moment we had it, and now we don't.
And now we are going to run that thing. And now we have it again.
That works correctly.
Are you drinking?
Now you have it again.
Lime and bitter.
Right? Now you have it again.
Right.
Now you go back here and run it again. It will say, come on, let us set it up. And say, okay, let's go. And let's go. And then run the install. And looks like you already have it. So log in. And there we go. So now it created a WP config file this time. Now if you run that thing again, ls, you will see that it not only has the sample, but also has the WP config PHP file. So this time if you run it, the script that we have, it should say, I will do
Bing.
nothing. And now we are golden. So we'll go back here in our
Not that one.
Windows.
Not that one.
And modify that, edit that thing to remove the equal sign.
And the parenthesis. Very cool.
And then update. So now you get it?
One more thing in the comments,
Uh-huh.
Nilesh.
Yes.
We've just at the moment, just to be accurate, we just put in run it like this, and we've got the sudo. Should there be mention of doing command, changing the modifying the user
Oh,
group?
the chown.
Not so much chown, but chmod. Command.
Oh, the.
To make it executable.
Oh yeah. We did change it to executable.
Yes.
What was it? 666 or something?
Plus X. Plus X. 666. 999 does everything. Read, write, executable.
Yeah.
Just adding the executable for the user to the shell file.
So now you're golden?
I hope so. My mummy used to call me golden.
Are you drinking wine, Chris?
No, but I'm going to start.
Okay.
I just had a hard day. I've had a hard day out in the yard digging holes and nailing things in.
Yep. So now if you have this modified, how would you invoke this in the chef run?
Oh, geez, that's right. So in the chef, when we do sudo chef client.
Yes. It should be a part of your extension cookbook. You should actually create a cookbook and drop in this thing.
Okay.
So that's the exercise I would like you to do, is to create a custom cookbook and expand your role. In your role definitions, you have these cookbooks included. You have the roles defined here, right? So you should add that to web server role. And in that role, we have web server role. Where is the role? Web server. So here is a role for web server that you see. So you should include, just like the web server needs to have a base role and a PHP and this and that, you should add one more role, one more recipe in which you will invoke your own cookbook, and you call this your cookbook. You call it setup WordPress cookbook, and you call that cookbook default, meaning your default recipe in the setup WordPress cookbook, and you invoke that here after this line, and you expand your expand your web server role. To expand it, include another line here after this line that says recipe, and then setup WordPress. So new cookbook reference. In that cookbook, you will drop in this code. And by the way, don't forget this code called db setup. And so this will set up.
Okay.
This will set up a WordPress database and a username and a password and everything. So don't forget to include this also along with that. And this, by definition, is idempotent. So let's run this now. This command we want to run on the same machine that we have WordPress already. So we'll take the raw, and in that raw we'll grab it, copy it, and go to the VM and go to the virtual machine. In there we'll grab this terminal and create another file, edit that file, oops, what did I do? What did I create?
Wrong one.
Quit.
Well, you did say insert the files.
Yeah, we should have just wget and paste.
Okay.
And so here it comes. So db setup.sh comes down, and so we now have that file here. db setup. We'll do a chmod to it,
Make it executable.
and then cat that file first. See what it is. See what it has inside, and this should just do idempotently already. Meaning, if you just run it like this, database already exists, and that's fine. It did not do nothing.
Right.
It doesn't do harm. It only says error, cannot create a database, because it already exists. So if the improvement to this code can be that you check whether the database exists and only then try to create a database. Otherwise, don't even try to avoid this error. But it doesn't cause a harm. Your database still is okay, and this thing still works. It does not destroy, does not disturb, does not cause harm. It just causes annoyance. The annoyance is this error. Hey, it already exists. Why do you want to create it again? And we did not check in this step here. We should have checked right in there before creating a database whether that database exists. And if it exists, don't create it, just skip. But it doesn't do harm. You can expand this ideas further in checking if the database exists and avoid this error, which is not really an error. It doesn't actually hurt.
Yeah, you get calls on it though, right?
Yeah, you get support calls. People will call you, hey, why is it causing this problem? So you should, in this scenario, test whether the database exists and then call it. And by the way, after all that, you call both of these guys, meaning this this code as well as the other code, which is here, both of them, inside a custom cookbook you will create. And this will be not the your SQL cookbook, but setup WordPress cookbook. And invoke these two separately. So in let me summarize. I'll take my screen. I'll take it to my screen and share my screen. And in there, I will find a white sheet of paper. And so what we just discussed today is two things. One of them is to set up WordPress using a command called chris.sh and set up a DB using a different command called DB setup. And it does set up DB, and this thing does set up WordPress. It checks for whether you already have it or not, and then appropriately takes the action. This thing does not check at all, but it is harmless. So you should expand the idea further. But for simplicity, invoke these two in form of a cookbook, another custom cookbook. That you invoke this and invoke this and run that as a part of your setting up. So you have your roles defined. You have a role called base role. You have a role called DB master role. You have a role called web server role. In fact, it is probably more appropriate to call
Put it in your web server.
Call this recipe should call that segment, and this recipe should call that segment. It's more appropriate. This is about database. This is also about database. This is about the web server, and you're adding app on top. Right?
Okay.
This segment of code that we just have created should go in invoked through this cookbook, or this role. And so you basically need two more cookbooks to be included. One is to expand existing your SQL cookbook. So this your SQL cookbook that you have, it does whatever it does. It invokes MySQL, and after that invocation is done, it should invoke this, and that will complete your database setup, not only with the software which your SQL does, but also with a database and a user created like this. And then the other cookbook you want to write, which will be a WordPress cookbook. And that WordPress cookbook will put app on top. And so this will write and invoke that segment. And that segment is invoked in an idempotent way. Meaning you can keep invoking that over and over on top of an existing setup, and it should not cause harm. Right? And by harm, I mean specifically not disturb existing setup. You have this setup that Anthony has that you can also have, and so you will have that setup also. And so you will need to make sure that anytime your cookbook collection runs sudo chef client, that the invocation should make sure that it does not hurt anybody. The people who have it currently, or the people who will have it in the future, should not get disturbed, or their setup should not get disturbed because of your chef runs. Because typically, as you know already, chef runs every 30 minutes. Typically, in most corporations, will run it like that. Run chef every 30 minutes or so, automatically, over and over and over again. If it's causing trouble, that will be a problem. And so you write your code in such a way that you are not causing trouble. So you check whether you have something already, and if you have it, you don't overwrite it. And that is something that I would like you to take these on as exercises for you to do it on your own. And if you need help, I'm available on Slack already. And so the link that you have on your gist in your Anthony's gist, if you can please paste that on Slack, that'll be awesome. Anthony has a Slack link on his Windows browser. If you can please drop
What do you need, Neelish?
a link to your gist in Slack. Your gist link is available in your Windows browser, right?
I'll be back. I need a bio break.
Yep.
Which link were you looking at? You want to look at my screen, Neelish? I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
I'll quickly look. So the gist is where we wrote these elements. So if you remember, and so that is a gist. So you want to get this link here, that whole link, and please select the whole thing and drop it into Slack. Escape, yeah, escape and cut. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That will help us in reusing what is already there on your gist. And this is a classic method of how people share snippets of code in using gist that you have there, like this. It was forked from anonymous/Chris, because at that time Chris was not logged in, but here you have logged in. So that's nice. So any questions on what we did today?
Oh, that's good. I'm already thinking like for the database is to put in a create database if not exists database name.
Correct. So let's do that part. Exactly what I had in mind is MySQL check if database exists command line.
How to check it?
Excuse me.
Well, there it is down the bottom. Create database.
Here it is.
Not exist. DB name semicolon.
That's it.
I should say. Colon. Does it have to be is it case sensitive like that?
No,
Yes,
it
it
is
is.
convention to write capital in data.
Right.
You have to add this element.
Right.
Let us add that segment of line. Copy. Go back to our gist here, or maybe here. And edit that gist. So you have this gist. Let us go look at the other gist, which is this one.
Database setup.
So
Okay.
we'll go and modify it. We'll fork it first. So create a copy, then edit it, and in there we'll drop in this line here. And then
Should that be lowercase as well?
yeah, it doesn't really matter. It does,
Just to be pedantic.
yeah, makes sense. You're right. So I'm going to edit that.
Thank you. You're right. It wouldn't have mattered, but
yeah, it just looks ugly if you go this way. You're right.
not always. Doesn't have to be. You make that.
Yeah, let me save it as is, and I'll edit it locally. It's hard for me to edit remotely, so I'm going to save it as is and bring it up on my laptop in my gist, and then deal with it here faster. So I have the database set up. Somebody forked it. I'm going to modify the fork itself, and then how do I get the fork? Here it is.
I think you're still in Anthony's screen. You're not in yours because we don't see yours being shared.
I see. Let me switch over and share my screen, and then I'll modify that thing in my own configuration. So I'm going to go to my screen sharing, where screen sharing, share my screen, and say OK. And then I'm sharing my screen with you guys. I hope.
Yeah, we see it.
And in my GitHub, I'll see this database setup. I want to make sure that I modify. And here I can type in much more efficiently than otherwise humanly possible. And I'll go make them uppercase. These are just conventions, by the way, the identified by, and these are how database people are known to write. So they have their conventions of how they write, and so they tend to write in caps.
Because they're shouting it out to you?
Exactly.
Oracle doesn't care if it's lowercase or uppercase.
No, it's only the parameters that make a difference. minus v and lowercase v. Virtual and verbose. It's more fun when you create an Oracle rack all completely from the command line.
When we set up WordPress before, didn't we create a database?
We created it by hand.
Uh-huh.
We created that manually by typing certain things. If you remember, the write-up has this thing written down. And so you followed these steps here. Oh, where was that? Not here, here, not here. Where is the thing? Okay, let me go log in.
Yeah. Video clients that are online.
Yeah, so somewhere here is this step about MySQL. At the very end, that step is called out, and that step is here.
Manually did it, created the database.
So that's where you created a database and all these things, that you are now doing it automatically through a step method like this.
Okay.
And so let me go finish that part that I was modifying in there. And so this is updated. I'm going to update it, and it's already up to date. So I'm going to grab the raw, and this raw, I'll go and take it, or rather, I should give this back to our friend Anthony and run it on his machine instead. So I'm passing a link to my gists, which have that thing for database, and in that you have the database setup gist up to date like this. So you grab the raw, and then you run that raw. Come on, raw. Please show me raw. Okay, there comes the raw. I'll grab that link, cut, go to the VM, and in that VM, go to that remote machine that we have there somewhere here. And in that machine, we have a database setup already saved. This is the old one. So we want to remove that DB setup. And in that DB setup, what I'm going to do is remove it and then get a new version from gist, which is going to be wget, and then paste the raw link. It will download a new version of DB setup. And this, by the way, has a change, in that the change happens to be that it checks for if not exists WordPress and then runs it. So if you run it like this, it says next error, operation create user failed for username. And you know why it failed? Because it exists already, right? So you have to add a similar treatment to the user creation also, right?
So again, is it create user if not exists?
Exactly. Let's go
Okay.
verify that in our description here. How to check user exists. Same thing except user, slightly different. So we'll go how to check if MySQL check if user exists. So it will be very similar. I'm just checking a syntax right now, and check if user exists. And so the syntax will be very, very similar, and you will find that it does. Or you can even delete. I don't want to delete. No, it's not the right answer.
Delete. Okay.
I think it is the same syntax. I'm not 100% sure, but let's confirm that by running it. So I'm going to run it, modify it a little bit here, and VIDB setup. And in there, I will pretty much run very similar to this if not exists line. I'll add it the same way. I'm going to copy it and put it right here in the create username if not exists. And give me a second, I'll go to cross check one more thing in user if not exists. And come on, show it to me. No, it doesn't want to show. Okay.
Where are you typing?
I'm not. I'm
Oh,
typing, but I'm showing. I'm
looking at
typing
it.
locally.
Okay, never mind. I'm looking at Anthony's screen.
Probably not going to be that easy. It's either we've got to put in, check the password file for the username,
Yeah.
or check and entering the password file for the name. User exists. If not, create it.
It's right underneath the terminal screen, Anthony. See where it says 5 answers?
Even here?
Yeah, that's probably what we need to check
Yes, looks like it. Let me verify.
to see if the username exists.
Let me just cross verify this and then I'll proceed in that direction.
Let me grab something from a little piece of code that I use, and I'll put it into Slack. Like that. It's in Slack. That's a little sneaky one I have to use in. That's a command line process when I'm using Oracle. I just modified it. It's quite involved, I know.
This get end password username, then okay, I see. This may not. I'm not sure if this works with the MySQL syntax.
No.
The one that Anthony had up, or bring the arrow down. I think it had a little bit more, had a couple more lines.
But you know what?
That right there.
This is not the language we are using. This is PHP language.
Oh,
We
Not using
want to use PHP language?
No, we are not. These things are running in shell.
So we don't want to. We do want a PHP function to check if the user exists in MySQL, though, don't we?
Yes, but in here we are not running PHP. This
Oh,
is
of course. Ding dong.
Oh yeah, we're running the script, but the script but then you would call out another script that goes into the database and checks if it's.
So I don't exactly remember what that function name should be, but I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to say if not exists. And this should go in that other section here. Create user if not.
Yeah. Right.
And then cat it. Make sure that we have it right, at least as we expect it to be. So we have added this segment and then run it.
You don't have to be in the database to do those commands.
No, these are outside. This is a shell command, and
Right,
that
right.
syntax is not accurate. So if not exist is not accurate.
Right.
So that let me get back to you guys on this verification. This verification, I'll find a verification method, and we'll update the gist for you to use. But in the meanwhile, I would like you to focus on creating a cookbook like we have here. In here, we describe how do you create a your SQL cookbook. And so your SQL cookbook, that we invoke it here in this step in a role called dbmaster, and then we create that cookbook here in a bundle exec knife cookbook, create your SQL, and in that cookbook we write pretty trivial things such as get my passwords and then invoke the MySQL server recipe. And after this is done, by the way, I would like you to run my
Create a custom cookbook.
my shell script that we have here.
Create
That's what I would like to run, this one described in this setup. In the meanwhile, what I will do is do my own research on what the right syntax should be, and I'll update this piece of segment to make it completely automatic, right?
Okay.
And the other part that we have to do to make sure that the WordPress setup completes successfully would be the other gist. We have this other gist here, which is listed out in this link. No, this is not the right link. Anthony's link is the right one. Where is that link? Yeah, this one is the right link. And so this link gives you the modifications needed to make it install WordPress 4.2.2. And that is what we will include in our custom cookbook. Again, this time will be a new cookbook that will be setting up like this your SQL was. Like this your SQL cookbook, you'll create another cookbook, bundle exec knife cookbook create WordPress setup. And in that, you will create a file called default RB, and you invoke this gist that we just looking at right now. That gist you can invoke by saying something like this. The thing you would like to search for is how to run a shell script through Chef. There would be a proper documentation. I think we should go check the documentation itself. This is not the right place to look. But Chef has a documentation which will describe you how to invoke, and the answer would be something like this. Pretty similar to this, except this is running Python code. We'll run our bash shell.
Mm-hmm.
So you execute something like this, go to that directory wherever it is stored and execute the command option. Pretty similar to this, except this is example is in Python. They're executing something in Python file name. We'll execute with a sudo. Actually, the whole chef run, by the way, automatically runs as sudo, so you don't have to worry about sudo. You heard me right. Chef runs as sudo chef client. So when you run it through the command, you don't have to call out sudo again. And you invoke the command will be just sh WordPress setup.sh or sh chris.sh. And that's what you will type in here. And this is the cookbook recipe that you will add for your WordPress cookbook. It will look something like this.
Okay.
And you can read further on the documentation for Chef like this. Chef docs command script. Actually, there's one more keyword I want to search, which is a shell script. So it is this script I want to run. Okay, come on, mouse, please respond. Okay, so here it tells you exactly how to run a bash shell. So you define it like this, and I'll give you more succinct examples of how would you modify.
Oh.
So here is an example. This is a good one. So bash, install something, do, and you can do whatever you want. You can write the script right in the body itself. And this is a good location to read about how would you make changes to a cookbook. You will include this kind of a write-up and make modifications. So the code goes that you have in your gist will go between EOH and EOH. Between these two EOHs, you will write bash, and this is your shell script.
Okay.
And you will drop in your code from chris.sh from this location into there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the only thing that needs to be done is the idea, which is how do you create a user without before you check if it exists and then you create a user. That change I will work on, and I will find out the right syntax and I'll update my gist. But other aspects should be clear for you guys. Is that right?
Yes, for me, yeah.
Sweet. If there are any questions, I'm here always. So you can always ping me up and figure out what needs to be done in order for things to work the way you want. The reason this exercise is open-ended is by deliberate nature. I want it to be open-ended in order for you to be able to figure out things that in real world, it's a simulation of what happens in the real life. You want to do something and you search and you find and you collaborate. And you're welcome to interact, exchange notes with me, exchange notes with other people in this group, and figure out how to get it to work. Because the bottom line is to figuring and getting it to work, not necessarily trying to simulate what happens in real life. You get a problem, you don't know how to solve it, you go to Google, you read the doc, you read the documentation, you try it out, scenario A, scenario B, and sometimes you forget that I have put in sudo inside the shell script, which needs to be exited. And then you struggle with it like we did today. And that happens in real life also. So this is a good practice, I think. And so I hope you actually do this. I hope you actually complete this exercise in deviating from what that write-up just said and expand it to include so that the chef client run when it runs sudo chef client, as you see in this step here, that it should do the subsequent steps also.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is one of them and this is another, and you do them in an idempotent fashion. That is the most important thing. It's about idempotency. So you will focus on that aspect which we did, like we just did, looked at idempotency issues. I looked at issues. How do you test for certain conditions, and then you invoke. Otherwise, you don't. So that step is important, and including them to include in a custom cookbook and getting all of them to run through Chef, just like this, is nice to have. So that is the exercise that I would like you to do. And
Okay.
next time when we meet, I will work with you on creating and setting up our own Chef server, which means we will not depend on our buddies that are causing problems. Our buddies are causing us problems because we have been running into those issues, right? So we have John not successfully connect yet in terms of connecting to the Chef server, right? Right.
Yeah. I created my Chef.io account again, and I'll try to somehow my original Chef.io account got hosed somehow.
So is the new account working for you?
Is my new account working for me? I haven't tried it yet.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that should work.
I'll try that right now.
Yeah, that should work.
Yep. I'm gonna create my digital ocean droplet and try to command that kept failing.
Right. Even before that step, I would suggest you do this step of knife EC2, sorry, knife node list, knife client list. Does it work already? Because
Yeah, it did.
oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, but I'll go back. Because that's gonna. I mean, with the new chef account, that's gonna affect that part. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
I got it.
Yeah. So that should if it doesn't work, just ping me and we'll work on it. We'll work on getting it to work. Right, guys?
And I'll continue on in this other part here. I understand the concept here.
So
So process should be
Yep.
is understood in my mind. I just
Awesome.
need to.
So I just want to quickly verify with Anthony and Jared as to if you know what we are going to do next. Just making sure that you are on the same page with us, and if not, I will further clarify.
Okay.
Conceptually, I get it. Whether or not I can do it is a different deal, but I'll mess with it, see what happens.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. It makes sense to mess with it.
Yeah.
I'll walk you through, and I'll even work with you if you want to work on this. Just ping me on Slack. We'll work on it and
Okay.
make it happen. I want you to really take this concept down to actually implementing it.
Should I delete my WordPress and then try to redo it?
Yeah, you can
Or-
actually keep your existing WordPress and play with the scenario like we were doing right now with Anthony's machine. Play out those scenarios in a innocuous fashion, step by step, to make it so that it works with just echo commands, and then when you have it working, then you add on the actual command like we had before, right? You see what you see what I'm saying in terms of innocuous comments such as echo or ls. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do any harm except saying that it will. And so the modifications I made to the actual code, you want to try them out yourself and experiment with an existing droplet that already has. And so you run that piece of segment of code that you have here. Let me project my screen. So I'm on whose screen this is?
Okay.
Oh, that's me.
And so we're gonna connect to our same droplet, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter which droplet you connect to. Is it same or a new one? All it matters is you want to make sure that your code that you have created runs in an idempotent fashion, meaning it is repeatable fashion. Meaning whatever you run, let's say you have this segment of code that runs like. Let me grab that link here. So you have this code that looks like Where is that code that you have? So here, set up WordPress. No, not this. Then there's DB setup. That's one. And WordPress setup was another one that I think, who has that revision? Revisions. So I think it is Chris and Anthony that created it, right?
Yeah, mine was anonymous, so then we did an
Anonymous. And Anthony has this version. So I'll grab this version from raw and copy that and bring that back to my gist and update my gist. So I'm going to edit my gist and update it here and then save it. So my gist updated. And this gist, the DB setup gist, I want to make line number 6 so that it doesn't create another error in creating a user when it exists. And then I should be able to use this part also. So there will be two scripts we have. One is setup WordPress script, here this one, and the other one is the database setup, which is this one. We'll invoke these two through two different cookbooks, and we'll invoke them through docs.chef.io like this, using this command, this documentation, in which there is an example at the bottom, which says that if
the EOH is right, the coding.
And so in this example, what we will do is end up using something like this. And in that drop of code, lines number 5 through 10 are kind of the portion of code that we need to run. So this says install something. We can rename it to something like
Install WordPress.
setup WordPress, yes. And so that is the action. And in there, we'll drop in that code for us. So watch that. What we are doing is going to that gist, grabbing that WordPress code, taking its raw, and grabbing the whole thing, putting it back in our notepad and into that segment. So this EOH and this EOH, in between that, whatever you have will run, on a repeat runs. So you have this, wait a second. You have this this segment of code between, say, lines number 6 through 22. If you have that segment, is the code that you have in bash that will get executed up between EOH here and EOH here. Whatever you write here gets executed as a part of your recipe that you will create, the default recipe that you will create, that will contain this segment. And this lines 8 all the way through, 8 all the way through 22, these lines, this segment of code that you have here is the bash shell script, and you invoke bash using this construct in your cookbook, in your default recipe, and that is described in this documentation, which goes like this.
And then how do you use the bash script? What exactly, or the bash shell? Is that just on your
Bash shell is whatever you run on your
droplet?
Whatever you run on the terminal or in the droplet is bash. So here, whatever you run is the bash script.
So just when you're connected.
Yeah. So you type ls or you write rm minus rf. Whatever you type here is a part of the bash script.
Okay.
Whatever you type here will become. These are bash commands. So you put them one after the other, that become bash scripts. So here are the commands: wget something, expand it, change directory, configure, make, install. So these couple of steps that you would do otherwise on a terminal will get invoked through chef in form of a construct like this through a cookbook that you invoke through a through a custom cookbook you create and invoke it like this, as the example provides. Meaning you will be doing something like this here and here and where's the your SQL cookbook? Yeah, so you will create a cookbook just like this, except you will have a different name. Then you create a recipe in there called default, and in that recipe you will drop in some piece of code. And this piece of code that you have here in this recipe, in that other example you will drop in this piece of code or exactly this piece of code, in which lines 6 through 22 are a part of a shell script. And in fact, you don't need this line either because it is about bash. You can make it tighter like this. And so now lines number 6 to 18 will constitute your script run that gets invoked through a recipe that you will create as a part of your default cookbook creation that goes here. So this is a recipe in that cookbook. The recipe is the default recipe. So you will also create a default recipe that goes in your new cookbook. And this cookbook will be about creating WordPress, setting up WordPress cookbook. And this will be the default recipe that will look like this. Got it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
WordPress is first, then we do MySQL.
Yes. Yes. And after I investigate and find out how do you create a user, I will update the gist also for that other one, which is like this, except this one. I'll update this just to include this condition, which is failing correctly. So I'll update that
Okay.
part and pass on a link to you guys.
Go back to the script. The line number 1 there.
Here,
Oh, the other. I think you had it in. Oh, go back. I think it was in the one you were doing just for WordPress.
I see. Here,
No, there was in line number the one you said I'm gonna tighten up. I'm sorry, I didn't
You're in your,
catch the.
yeah, you're on Ubuntu. Nilesh, if you switch to your Ubuntu node, there it is.
Okay, that line number 1, it says bash. Is that setting the shell? That line 1?
this is invoking a recipe and telling it to run a code that is going to be provided to you between the EOH segments.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So this is a,
Yeah,
this
I
is a
I
recipe.
understand that part. I just
So this is a recipe.
so yeah. So line 1, 2, 3, 4 is the recipe, and then it shoots out and runs a shell script.
Correct.
This and else. Oh, all right, got it.
Correct.
All
Correct.
right.
So if you remove this segment, this is the skeleton recipe that does nothing.
Yes.
And with this thing added, it will do the bash thing. So skeleton and bash.
Mm-hmm.
So it does nothing,
Sure.
does something.
Okay. So you're gonna save that file for
And then you
us too?
just
Yes, indeed, it is coming. But I would like you to construct it based on the documentation here.
Okay.
I can drop it in a gist, no problem there. But I would rather use this, and so
Got it.
use a name
I know what to
provider
do
one
with
as
that.
well. And
Yep, I know what to do with that.
and then you have to invoke that provider, right? So I would rather you read the documentation to figure out how do you invoke it and practice with it, because unless you actually practice, no amount of this thing, and you using these write-ups and essentially running what you have here in a terminal will get you the real practice. Real practice comes from reading the actual documentation, like here, reading this and
Okay.
getting your examples to work without relying on these gists is the right answer.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So that's what I would suggest, that you go read the doc and figure it out. And yes, you can copy scripts and copy, and the whole world is open though. It's an open source world, right? So you can go to GitHub, you can go to Google, and there are tons and tons of resources available. But that's how real life is. And so you read the doc and understand it for yourself, get it to work, and if you need help, ping me.
Okay. Or dig.
Yep.
Okay.
And next time when we'll get together, we will do the other idea, which is going to be looking like this. I'm going to show you what it looks like next time. We'll use we'll basically build a chef server for your organization.
Okay. All right.
So the idea would be to build a chef server means where does it go? Build a chef server, open a chef server, and view live. Come on, view live version. And so here is how it looks like. You describe what chef server is, and you will install, and that's what you'll do next time. But I would rather you focus on
Right.
this exercise at hand, which is to make sure that you are able to modify the existing write-ups based on the documentation you see here. And that is a critical resource I would like you to use. So use this documentation, which is here in Slack, and get it to work in a fashion that is repeatable, idempotent, and do it by yourself, which will help you in understanding how things actually work out. No amount of these exercises will get you the way to think independently on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goal to deal with chef in complexity that you would see in real life is something that I'm trying to simulate an example for, in terms of how would you deviate from a set path given to you here and make certain changes that are not described, not defined, open-ended, left in the wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So any questions? I hear Anthony is super quiet, and Jared is also very quiet. So I would like to hear their thoughts on.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
I'm
just
good.
gonna
Go
read
ahead,
and
Jared.
try. Yeah, I'm just gonna read and try and figure it out. Yeah, I've just been watching and trying to understand.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So are you hiding your webcams or something? Is that right? Yes, you are.
Yeah,
All of
there's
us.
no light in this room that I'm in, so it's kind of pointless to have it on, really.
Yes, I understand. And so I have made sure that my room has enough light. By the way, I'm wearing a military shirt today.
Pass that bottle.
What does it say? Ben? Oh, it's a beer bottle.
No,
No?
Bundaberg,
What does that
lemon, lime, and bitter. So close to where I was born.
Lemon, lime, and bitter. Okay.
Yeah. So a little different, because here in the US, this is actually lemonade, lime, and bitters. Real lemonade, not 7-Up or Sprite. So take a glass, some bitters in it,
Huh.
put in ice, swirl it around so the inside of the glass is coated with bitters. Then you pour in your lemonade and your lime. And then you take a big drink of it, and then you put a shot of tequila in it.
Nice.
Ah.
But in my case, just the lemon, lime, and bitters, because haven't quite figured out how to make my own lemonade just yet.
Yeah. Nice.
I know, John, it wasn't big.
Cool.
That'll probably be Friday
I don't
when we're
drink
setting up
anymore.
our own chef server.
Used to drink too much.
Yeah. You did?
We all try to have fun different ways we think we should, but
Mhm.
find out later that that's not the right approach. Just like this cloud computer training. You try something, it doesn't work, it blows up, and then you don't do that again.
Yes, exactly. So you find that you put sudo without thinking in a terminal bash script and figure out why it is not exiting and why it is expecting an exit from me. And you do it in a live class. That is even more fun.
You got there in the end, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start on my homework here. And are we ending the class now?
Yeah, I think we should end. We don't want to extend it to another 6 hours.
You don't wanna go to midnight again? It's only
It's only 9:20. Yeah,
good thing you don't charge per hour.
I know.
Very much so.
Okay, I'm gonna turn my webcam off here. I get better voice when I have it off for some reason.
Right. I think it's
Okay.
bandwidth.
Mine's off, and I'll drop off. Thank you all again. It's been fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir.
See you next bat time, same bat channel, and
Alright.
be safe.
Yes, sir. Have a
See you guys.
safe travels.
Alright.
Okay, thanks for the dump of information out right now. I'll talk to you on chat.
Yep. Alright, I'll see you guys.
All right. See you,
Okay, good
Jared.
night, everybody.
Night.
See you, Neelish.
Yes, sir.
I'll hit you.
We can always.
I'll spend some time looking at it. It'll take me a second to figure it out, but I'll hit you on Slack.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
All right, pal. See you.
Yeah, really, it's all on the recording. We could just watch the recording and step right there.
Yeah, I will now stop recording and actually convert a video, which will take 2 days. Apparently, it takes a long time to create a video out of it.
Oh, really? On the GoToMeeting?
Yeah, that part is bad.
Oh, so you can't just
No,
shoot it off to someone else to.
no,
Oh,
no. Like
interesting.
in
2
Google
days,
Hangouts,
huh?
it's almost instantaneously available. Here, the recording is not instantaneously ready.
But it's a much better recording, though.
Is it?
I think.
Huh.
I think so. I was having really, it wasn't coming out as well on Hangout. I think this GoToMeeting has a more refined, seems like upgraded voice and video for me.
I see. That's good to know. Good to know.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.